The scene opens at a high-profile gala in Manhattan, a glittering affair with crystal chandeliers, the soft glow of candlelight reflecting off polished marble floors. The city skyline outside the floor-to-ceiling windows mirrors the opulence within. Guests, a mixture of high-powered executives, celebrities, and socialites, murmur in anticipation, their eyes constantly flicking to Alexander Alex Sterling, heir to one of the largest corporate empires in the nation. Alex is the embodiment of privilege-tailored tuxedo, a commanding presence, the kind of charisma that bends rooms to his will. Yet beneath the surface, there is a subtle restlessness, an undercurrent of isolation. He is celebrated, envied, and feared, yet oddly untouchable. In the midst of the gala, his fiancée makes a seemingly innocent misstep, a miscommunication in front of key board members and investors. With a sharpness that shocks even the seasoned executives, Alex publicly humiliates her, his words cutting through the clinking of glasses and hushed conversations like a scalpel. The crowd freezes, some shifting uncomfortably, sensing the fragility beneath the polished surface of the Sterling Empire. The humiliation is not just personal, it is political. A calculated display of power meant to assert dominance in both social and corporate spheres. Alex's anger, though publicly justified by the mishap, exposes a deeper insecurity, a fear that anything less than perfection could unravel his meticulously curated world. The room's energy shifts palpably, tension and discomfort coiling like a living thing. In that instant, Alex is revealed not only as an alpha figure, but as a man whose authority, while unquestioned, teeters on the edge of volatility. The audience witnesses both his privilege and his isolation, setting the stage for a character who is fascinatingly flawed, a man trapped by his own persona and expectations, craving respect while resisting vulnerability. Amid the chaos, Clara Bennett, a recently hired personal assistant whose role is largely invisible, steps forward. Unlike the guests who flinch or avert their eyes, Clara moves with quiet purpose, her presence unassuming yet remarkably grounded. She approaches the tense scene with a combination of grace and intellect, recognizing the immediate threat. A multi-million-dollar deal could unravel if Alex loses control entirely. Clara diffuses the situation without theatrics. She offers a subtle correction, a calmly phrased suggestion that redirects attention and restores decorum. Her intervention is almost surgical precise, respectful, and entirely efficient. In the process, she demonstrates a rare combination of humility and intelligence, qualities that stand in stark contrast to the cutthroat opulence surrounding them. Alex, initially irritable and resistant, cannot help but notice her. There is something disarmingly human about Clara, a grounded reality that no one in his gilded world seems capable of offering. For her part, Clara is wary. She has likely encountered figures like Alex before, arrogant, imperious, and emotionally unavailable, but something about this moment piques her curiosity. Beneath his bluster, she senses a vulnerable layer, a man capable of connection if only someone could navigate his defenses. In these brief seconds, a delicate tension forms. Alex is intrigued yet defiant, curious yet unwilling to admit it, while Clara balances caution with professional composure. The audience can feel the subtle chemistry developing, charged not with overt romance, but with mutual recognition. Their interaction is an intricate dance of power and vulnerability, foreshadowing a complex relationship in which social class divides and emotional walls will play pivotal roles. Beyond the immediate gala drama, the scene introduces the stark contrast between social strata, reinforcing both narrative tension and character depth. Alex, accustomed to a life insulated by wealth, influence, and privilege, operates in a bubble where mistakes are often hidden by resources or reputation. Clara, by contrast, embodies humility and groundedness, her intelligence and composure earned through merit rather than inherited power. This social tension heightens the stakes, not just professionally, but emotionally. While Alex wields authority effortlessly, Clara navigates the world cautiously, aware of the expectations placed upon someone of her position. The subtle chemistry between them becomes a lens for exploring vulnerability and authenticity. Alex's commanding exterior masks loneliness and pressure, whereas Clara's poised composure reflects resilience forged by real-life challenges. Observing Clara, the audience begins to perceive cracks in Alex's facade, hints of a man longing for understanding beyond admiration or fear. Simultaneously, Clara recognizes that her engagement with Alex carries risk, both in navigating the delicate corporate and social ecosystem and in resisting the pull of personal curiosity. The emotional beats here are layered. The public display of humiliation highlights Alex's isolation. Clara's intervention showcases her intelligence and empathy, and the emerging tension between their worlds underscores the narrative's central conflict. The gala is not just an event. It is a crucible in which character, privilege, and vulnerability collide. The audience is drawn into this complex interplay, sensing the potential for growth, conflict, and deep connection. By the end of this opening sequence, viewers understand that the story is not only about power and ambition, but about the fragile human, connections that can bridge even the most formidable social divides. Alexander Alex Sterling, 28, is the scion of a sprawling corporate empire, groomed from birth to inherit both wealth and authority. Raised in a household dominated by a controlling mother and a family obsessed with status, Alex's upbringing left him acutely aware that mistakes are unacceptable and vulnerability is a liability. From childhood, his successes were expected, not celebrated. His failures scrutinized, magnified, and leveraged as lessons in perfection. This environment fostered a relentless drive to achieve, yet it came at the cost of emotional growth. Alex struggles to express his feelings or trust others, believing that any emotional openness might be exploited or dismissed. Beneath his polished exterior, sharp suits, confident posture, commanding presence lies a man profoundly isolated, craving genuine connection but unsure how to access it. His engagement to a manipulative fiancée, motivated more by social alliance than love, only intensifies his sense of entrapment. The gala incident underscores his pattern, public dominance masking private vulnerability. Despite his corporate prowess, Alex wrestles with deep loneliness, a craving for authenticity, and the weight of family expectations. He is simultaneously admired and feared, yet misunderstood, which shapes every interaction. His character setup establishes stakes that are both external corporate deals, social reputation, and internal, the struggle to reconcile inherited privilege with a desire for emotional freedom. These tensions foreshadow conflicts with anyone entering his world, especially someone like Clara, whose values and background challenge his carefully constructed bubble. Clara Bennett, 25, grew up in a working-class environment, raised by a single mother who instilled in her both independence and a strong sense of responsibility. From an early age, Clara learned that competence and self-reliance were not optional. They were survival skills. Unlike Alex, her life demanded emotional agility, problem-solving under pressure, and humility in the face of societal hierarchies. She is highly capable, intelligent, and perceptive, yet her experiences have taught her to keep emotional walls firmly in place. Clara has seen ambition distorted by greed or manipulation and has learned to navigate carefully, a skill reinforced by her best friend, who frequently warns her against workplace politics and the hidden traps of privilege. Entering the Sterling world is both exhilarating and intimidating. The opulence, subtle social maneuvering, and power dynamics challenge her sense of self and force constant adaptation. She observes Alex's world with a mixture of fascination and caution, noticing the human frailties beneath his commanding presence. Clara's backstory emphasizes resilience forged through real-life challenges contrasting sharply with Alex's polished but fragile emotional foundation. Her presence signals both potential conflict and growth. She is equipped to challenge Alex's assumptions while navigating his high-stakes environment, foreshadowing the push and pull dynamics that will define their relationship. Her adaptability is not just professional, it is emotional, testing the boundaries of trust and connection in a world designed to privilege wealth over authenticity. The narrative tension arises from the collision of these two contrasting worlds. Alex's universe is one of privilege, expectation, and social scrutiny. Every action is magnified, every misstep a potential catastrophe. Clara's reality, rooted in independence, humility, and earned competence, offers a lens through which Alex's life appears simultaneously glamorous and suffocating. Their emotional beats are carefully orchestrated. Clara's resilience highlights Alex's hidden vulnerability, while Alex's struggles illuminate the cost of a life defined by power and perfection. Secondary characters reinforce stakes and foreshadow challenges. Alex's overbearing mother and manipulative fiancé represent societal and familial pressures, forcing him to mask his emotions, while Clara's best friend reminds her of the dangers inherent in high-powered office dynamics. These relationships underscore the stakes: professional, personal, and romantic, and hint at past wounds. Alex's childhood trauma of perfectionism and emotional suppression, Clara's upbringing of resilience and guarded optimism. Their interactions promise tension. Every step forward carries potential professional peril, emotional exposure, and the possibility of misjudgment across social divides. The stark contrast between their worlds is not just external. It shapes their internal landscapes, decisions, and ability to connect authentically. This setup establishes a layered emotional canvas. Audiences understand that every choice is weighted by history, expectation, and desire, and that the collision of privilege and resilience will drive both conflict and transformation throughout the narrative. The inciting incident begins when Clara, in the course of performing her duties as Alex Sterling's new personal assistant, stumbles upon discrepancies in the company's financial records. Initially, she notices minor inconsistencies, accounts that don't balance, unexpected transfers, and transactions that appear suspicious. Her analytical mind, honed through years of self-reliance and attention to detail, pushes her to dig deeper. As she delves further, Clara uncovers a larger, more alarming pattern of fraud, implicating not only Alex's fiancé, but also several board members whose loyalties and intentions had previously seemed unimpeachable. The scope of the deception is staggering. Millions of dollars are misappropriated, threatening the stability of the Sterling empire. Clara experiences a complex mix of emotions: shock, fear, and responsibility. She understands that revealing this information could destabilize the company, jeopardize Alex's professional reputation, and expose her own vulnerability in a world that rewards power and punishes the weak. Yet her moral compass and innate intelligence compel her to act. This discovery marks a turning point. Clara's role evolves from mere observer and assistant to a key player in the unfolding crisis. It also establishes the narrative tension as she must decide how to confront Alex, whose trust is notoriously difficult to earn. The revelation is not just about fraud. It is about power, manipulation, and the hidden threats lurking within Alex's gilded world. For Clara, every step is fraught with risk, and the weight of the decision highlights her courage, intelligence, and resilience. This discovery sets the stage for a complex alliance that will redefine the professional and emotional dynamics between her and Alex. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Clara chooses to confide in Alex privately, arranging a discreet meeting away from the prying eyes of board members and socialites. Her approach is cautious yet direct, presenting facts without embellishment while maintaining professional composure. Alex, initially skeptical, reacts with a mixture of suspicion and disbelief. His life has conditioned him to be wary of betrayal, especially from someone he does not fully know. And the revelation that his fiancée may be implicated triggers a maelstrom of anger, hurt, and disbelief. He questions Clara's motives. Is she a whistleblower motivated by loyalty, or someone attempting to manipulate the situation for personal gain? Clara's sincerity, however, begins to penetrate Alex's defenses. The scene becomes a delicate negotiation of trust, as both characters must navigate their respective fears and assumptions. Alex's emotional armor is challenged. For the first time, he confronts the stark possibility that those closest to him, including those he assumed were allies, might be working against him. Simultaneously, Clara must balance her sense of integrity with the very real need to protect herself in a treacherous corporate environment. Their dialogue, laden with tension, begins to establish the dynamics that will define their relationship: conflict, cautious trust, and the beginnings of mutual dependence. This private confession is not only a plot pivot, but an emotional crucible, testing character, loyalty, and intuition while setting the stage for high-stakes collaboration. With the fraudulent scheme threatening to unravel Alex's career, reputation, and engagement, the two are compelled to work together, despite distrust and contrasting personalities. Alex is forced to acknowledge Clara's competence and insight, while Clara must navigate a labyrinth of corporate politics, moral ambiguity, and her own cautious instincts. Their collaboration generates both conflict and intimacy, long hours poring over financial documents, tense strategy sessions, and moments of vulnerability reveal hidden facets of each character. Alex grapples with feelings of betrayal by his fiancée, by the board, and by his own inability to anticipate the deception while simultaneously realizing his growing admiration and perhaps attraction to Clara. Clara, on the other hand, wrestles with the tension between loyalty to her role, self-preservation, and the ethical imperative to expose the truth. Every decision carries immense stakes. A misstep could result in public scandal, loss of corporate control, and personal humiliation. Emotional boundaries are tested as trust must be extended without guarantees, and both characters are forced to confront their vulnerabilities. The narrative tension escalates, blending professional jeopardy with personal and romantic undertones. This inciting incident serves as the catalyst for the story's central arcs: the unraveling of Alex's carefully constructed world, the growth of Clara's influence and courage, and the slow emergence of emotional intimacy under extreme pressure. The interplay of high stakes, moral complexity, and interpersonal dynamics ensures that the story now moves from exposition into a compelling, character-driven trajectory of suspense, conflict, and evolving relationships as Clara and Alex work together to uncover the financial corruption. The intensity of their collaboration both strengthens and complicates their relationship. Late nights in the office, poring over spreadsheets, and strategizing corporate maneuvers create an environment of high-stakes intimacy, where competence and reliance breed admiration and subtle emotional attachment. Yet, their efforts are constantly sabotaged by Alex's fiancé and allies on the board, who leak false information, manipulate media narratives, and attempt to discredit Clara at every turn. For Alex, the stress triggers old traumas rooted in his upbringing: fear of losing control, perfectionist tendencies, and an ingrained distrust of others. Every act of sabotage not only jeopardizes the investigation, but also magnifies Alex's anxiety and emotional volatility. Clara, aware of his past and fragile trust, approaches each situation cautiously, balancing the need for assertiveness with tact, while also grappling with her own feelings of growing attachment. The romance between them emerges in quiet moments, shared glances over tense negotiations, unspoken understanding during crises, and the rare vulnerability Alex allows in private, but remains constrained by societal hierarchies and personal walls. Clara's working-class background, contrasted against the sterling world, heightens the tension. She must constantly navigate how her competence is perceived, whether as genuine skill or opportunistic ambition. Their professional collaboration thus becomes a crucible, testing not only their abilities but also their capacity to trust, opening the door for subtle emotional entanglement, even as external pressures threaten to pull them apart. The rising tension reaches a critical point when a leaked email is strategically framed to make Clara appear as though she is betraying Alex, collaborating with his fiancée to undermine him. The leak is devastating, both professionally and emotionally. Alex, already struggling with control issues and distrust, lashes out, expressing anger and disappointment with a sharpness that cuts deeper than mere words. Clara, shocked and hurt, begins to doubt the bond they've formed, questioning whether her efforts and loyalty are recognized or will always be overshadowed by suspicion. This misunderstanding amplifies the story's emotional stakes, creating heartbreak, self-doubt, and a heightened sense of vulnerability for both characters. Alex's internal conflict balancing rational evidence with emotional reaction is complicated by his history of isolation and perfectionism. Meanwhile, Clara must wrestle with guilt, frustration, and fear. She understands the appearance of betrayal could undermine everything they've worked for, yet she knows her integrity remains intact. Their interactions become fraught with tension, characterized by clipped words, misinterpreted intentions, and emotional distance despite physical proximity. The leak serves as a narrative device to test trust and loyalty, showing how fragile even the strongest alliances can be under pressure. Emotional conflict is compounded by societal and professional expectations. Alex cannot appear weak in front of the board, while Clara must maintain her credibility in an unfamiliar, elitist environment. Their personal connection is tested, highlighting the story's core theme that love, trust, and collaboration are most challenging when stakes are highest and vulnerability is unavoidable. Simultaneously, the external conflict escalates in boardrooms, press briefings, and high-profile meetings. The fiancée and her allies orchestrate manipulations designed to discredit both Alex and Clara, creating an environment of relentless public scrutiny. Every decision is questioned. Every document is examined with suspicion. The professional pressure mirrors and intensifies the emotional stakes. Alex faces potential ruin of his career and family reputation, while Clara must navigate accusations that threaten her professional integrity. Amid the chaos, their subtle romance is repeatedly tested by ambition, pride, and social class divides. Moments of intimacy are punctuated by sharp disagreements, misunderstandings, and the lingering tension of unspoken attraction. Emotional beats here are complex. Heartbreak emerges not from a lack of feeling, but from miscommunication and fear of vulnerability. Both Alex and Clara must confront personal insecurities while remaining functional in a high-stakes environment. The narrative tension peaks as the stakes converge. A public scandal threatens exposure. Private trust is strained to its limits, and both characters are forced to reassess the strength of their bond. The story positions the reader at the precipice of the climax. Relationships are tested, loyalties questioned, and the emotional and professional pressure cooker reaches near boiling point. At this stage, the interplay between romance, ambition, class, and personal history ensures that the story is primed for a dramatic resolution. With every choice carrying potentially irreversible consequences, the climax ignites during a high-stakes shareholder meeting, a meticulously orchestrated arena where Alex must balance authority, public perception, and personal stakes. As the board gathers, whispers of past mismanagement and leaked documents have already set the room on edge, but Alex seizes the moment to confront the source directly, his fiancée. Calm yet commanding, he presents evidence of her fraudulent actions, manipulated accounts, collusion with select board members, and deliberate attempts to destabilize the company. The tension is palpable. Murmurs ripple through the shareholders, and cameras capture every reaction. His fiancée, caught off guard, reacts defensively, but the incontrovertible proof leaves no room for denial. Clara, positioned discreetly nearby, watches as her meticulous investigation bears fruit. Her role in uncovering the scandal is subtly highlighted documents she flagged. Emails she traced and strategies she suggested are acknowledged in Alex's presentation. The public vindication is not just professional, but profoundly emotional for Clara. Her competence, integrity, and loyalty are recognized in a world that often diminishes voices like hers. For Alex, this moment is cathartic. He asserts control not through privilege or inherited power, but through intelligence, decisiveness, and moral courage. The confrontation serves multiple functions. It resolves the professional arc of exposing corruption, reinforces Clara's pivotal role, and sets the stage for the personal revelations to come. The audience experiences the dual thrill of justice served and emotional anticipation as the narrative pivots from corporate reckoning to intimate vulnerability, signaling that the climax will intertwine both spheres. With the fraud laid bare, Alex experiences an emotional breakthrough, catalyzed by the intensity of the confrontation and the unwavering support of Clara. For a man who has spent years suppressing vulnerability, the moment offers clarity. He cannot deny his feelings any longer. Against societal expectations and the rigid social norms of his elite circle, Alex publicly admits his affection for Clara. Acknowledging her as more than a capable assistant, he names her as his partner, openly challenging conventions that would dictate a more suitable match. The declaration shocks the room, drawing reactions ranging from admiration to whispered scandal, but Alex's expression and tone communicate unshakable resolve. Clara, initially startled, feels a surge of relief, validation, and emotional connection, tempered by the weight of the social and familial implications. The tension of secrecy and unspoken attraction dissolves in this moment of transparency. Yet new challenges emerge. Alex's mother, a figure of authority and control throughout his life, responds with immediate opposition. She threatens to disown him if he continues his relationship with Clara, asserting the weight of tradition, reputation, and family expectation. This unexpected twist complicates the triumph of exposing fraud, reminding both characters that personal stakes often rival professional victories. The emotional beats are layered: catharsis from justice achieved, exhilaration from vulnerability expressed, and tension from impending familial conflict. Alex's admission signifies a turning point. He embraces authenticity and emotional risk, signaling personal growth while setting up the final resolution of their journey. The climax culminates with Alex and Clara confronting their fears, weighing social convention against genuine connection. For Alex, the challenge is internal, overcoming decades of control, perfectionism, and fear of rejection to pursue a love that defies expectation. For Clara, the struggle is external and emotional, trusting her feelings, protecting her integrity, and navigating the fallout from a society that might perceive her as opportunistic. Together, they choose to face these challenges as a united front. In private, moments of vulnerability deepen their bond. Alex admits past insecurities, the suffocating pressure of familial expectation, and the loneliness that privilege often conceals. Clara shares her own fears, guilt, and hesitation, revealing the resilience that has defined her life. Their dialogue and actions reflect mutual respect, understanding, and courage, crystallizing the emotional stakes of the narrative. Professionally, the exposure of the fiancé's corruption resolves the corporate tension, while personally, the acknowledgement of love and defiance of societal norms establishes a profound emotional victory. The threat of Alex's mother looms, maintaining tension but emphasizing the power of choice over obligation. By confronting betrayal, fear, and class barriers, Alex and Clara affirm their commitment not only to each other but to their individual growth. The climax, therefore, delivers layered catharsis. Justice prevails, emotional walls are dismantled, and the protagonists embrace vulnerability, setting the stage for a resolution that balances love, integrity, and personal empowerment. The narrative peaks here, with maximum tension in every sphere, professional, familial, and romantic, before the story transitions into denouement. The resolution begins as Alex makes the decisive choice to break, free from the suffocating control of his family, resigning from his position at the core of the Sterling Empire. This act of defiance is not just symbolic. It marks a turning point in his personal evolution from a privileged, entitled heir to a self-aware, emotionally mature individual. Together with Clara, he launches a new subsidiary, a venture built on mutual respect, innovation, and integrity. Clara, once navigating the intimidating and hierarchical Sterling world with caution, now emerges as a confident co-leader, her intelligence and competence recognized by colleagues and investors alike. The subsidiary becomes a space where both characters can operate as equals, blending their strengths, Alex's strategic vision and industry knowledge with Clara's analytical skills, emotional intelligence, and grounded perspective. Their professional partnership reinforces the narrative theme of empowerment. Clara is no longer just the assistant. She is a co-architect of success, navigating boardrooms and negotiations with poise. The shift also reflects the broader social commentary, competence and integrity, rather than lineage or social standing, define leadership and influence. Alex's decision to step away from inherited power, coupled with Clara's ascent, underscores a liberation from societal and familial expectations, allowing them to define their roles and values on their own terms. This narrative arc delivers catharsis for the professional conflict introduced earlier. Justice, competence, and ethical leadership prevail, while laying the foundation for equally balanced personal and emotional development. Parallel to their professional success, Alex and Clara experience profound emotional growth. Alex confronts the vulnerabilities and insecurities that have long governed his relationships, recognizing that control, wealth, or status cannot substitute for authentic connection. His journey from emotional repression to openness enables him to engage in a partnership grounded in trust, respect, and mutual support. Clara, meanwhile, solidifies her confidence, learning to trust her judgment, embrace her achievements, and navigate high-stakes environments without fear of being perceived as opportunistic. Their love evolves in tandem with their professional collaboration. It is not impulsive or idealized, but realistic, hard-won, and deeply grounded in mutual recognition of each other's strengths and flaws. Shared challenges, past betrayals, and moments of vulnerability have fortified the bond, creating a foundation of trust and interdependence. Emotional beats include healing from betrayal, both Clara's fear of misjudgment and Alex's experience of manipulation by his fiancée and family, and the ongoing negotiation of boundaries and expectations. Their interactions demonstrate that equality in love requires active commitment, communication, rather than mere romantic sentiment. By embracing vulnerability and dismantling long-held emotional walls, Alex and Clara redefine what it means to be partners, not as protector and protected, or superior and subordinate, but as two individuals navigating challenges together, with empathy, honesty, and respect guiding their choices. The arc concludes with the slow softening of Alex's mother, whose initial opposition stems from deeply ingrained social expectations and fear of losing influence. Witnessing her son's authentic happiness and professional success with Clara, She begins to reconcile her perception of status with the value of emotional well-being. This reconciliation does not erase past tension but demonstrates growth, compromise, and the power of love to challenge rigid familial hierarchies. Alex and Clara's partnership now exists within the broader context of balance. They are recognized professionally, respected personally, and empowered socially. The emotional beats here are nuanced healing from betrayal, finding self-confidence, and experiencing love without the constraints of fear, pretense, or societal pressure. The couple's journey illustrates that personal and professional fulfillment are intertwined. Achievements are most meaningful when shared with a partner who challenges, complements, and supports one another. Their love is realistic, grounded in shared values, and strengthened by adversity, representing a hard-won equilibrium rather than fairy tale resolution. The narrative closes on a tone of empowerment. Clara has claimed her agency and voice. Alex has transformed from an emotionally stunted heir to a mature partner. And together, they demonstrate that authentic relationships and ethical success are achievable, even amid societal expectations and family pressure. The story ends on a note of balance, growth, and hope, celebrating love, integrity, and self-realization as mutually reinforcing forces. The story's emotional close opens with a quiet, intimate scene in the new office Alex and Clara share, a space that symbolizes both their professional partnership and personal journey. The room is bathed in the golden hues of a Manhattan sunset, sunlight reflecting off the glass skyscrapers and casting long shadows across the polished floor. The city buzzes softly below, a reminder of the larger world they navigate, yet in this moment, they are removed from external pressures, family expectations, societal judgment, and corporate ambition. Alex and Clara sit side by side, shoulders occasionally brushing, a subtle physical connection that mirrors their emotional bond. They reflect on the trials that brought them here, the fear, manipulation, and betrayals that once threatened to define their paths. The corporate scandals, public scrutiny, and boardroom battles now seem distant compared to the personal victories they have earned. The air is thick with unspoken acknowledgement of their shared struggles, the emotional scars that remain, and the growth that each has experienced. Alex, for the first time in years, allows himself to sit fully in vulnerability. No defenses, no pretense, just openness with someone he trusts implicitly. Clara observes the man behind the air, seeing strength born not from privilege, but from courage and moral clarity. This reflection is gentle yet profound, signaling to the audience that the protagonist's journeys are not only about resolving external conflict, but about internal healing and self-acceptance. The quiet setting emphasizes intimacy, allowing the emotional weight of the narrative to settle and resonate deeply. In this serene moment, Clara leaves a symbolic note on Alex's desk, a handwritten message reading, "We write our own rules now." The act is simple yet deeply meaningful, encapsulating the journey they have undertaken together. It represents liberation from societal expectations, familial pressure, and the manipulations that once threatened to control their destinies. For Clara, leaving the note is a declaration of agency. She has not only survived a challenging, male-dominated environment, but has carved out a space for herself as a partner, equal in intellect, authority, and emotional depth. For Alex, reading the note is a quiet confirmation that he no longer needs to adhere to inherited norms or fear judgment. Holding Clara's hand, he smiles, a gesture of both love and relief symbolizing his comfort and vulnerability, trust, and emotional openness. This scene resonates on multiple levels, personal, romantic, and symbolic. It signifies that their love is no longer constrained by external pressures and that their relationship has matured into one of balance, respect, and shared purpose. The note itself becomes a visual and emotional anchor, a concise statement of triumph over adversity and self-doubt. and a promise of continued partnership and mutual empowerment. The audience feels the weight of history and struggle distilled into a single, quiet affirmation of autonomy and connection, a payoff to the tension built throughout the story. The final emotional beat delivers subtle yet satisfying closure. Alex and Clara sit together, gazing out over the skyline, the setting sun reflecting both literal and metaphorical endings, the end of conflict, fear, and deception. Their romance is intact, matured through trials, misunderstandings, and shared victories. Personal growth is evident. Clara is empowered, confident, and respected. Alex has evolved from an entitled, emotionally stunted heir into a self-aware, vulnerable, and loving partner. Justice, both corporate and personal, has been served. The fiancé and board conspirators are exposed, reputations are restored, and integrity prevails. Yet the resolution is quiet, grounded in realism, emphasizing emotional satisfaction rather than melodrama. The scene leaves viewers with a sense of catharsis. The protagonists have reclaimed agency over their lives and destinies, and their love exists as a partnership of equals. The audience is invited to linger in the moment, appreciating the delicate interplay of professional triumph, personal healing, and romantic fulfillment. The understated imagery, the sunset, the city skyline, the shared silence. The note reinforces the themes of empowerment, authenticity, and emotional courage. By concluding on this reflective, intimate note, the narrative provides a final payoff for viewers invested in both the romance and corporate drama, leaving them uplifted, inspired, and emotionally satisfied. The story closes not with fanfare, but with the enduring resonance of love, integrity, and self-determination, a fitting conclusion to a journey defined by resilience, vulnerability, and hard-won triumph.